Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this zone editor. There example. It is. You notice these zones here. You got zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. These are all zoned very well, except for these little zones here. This zone 6, we don't really need to know what page it is. So we're going to delete that page. That zone. Also, this zone over here is zone, now this is zone 6. It was zone 7 until I deleted zone 6. Now this is zone 6. And we don't need that either. It's a time indicator. So we highlight it, go to the top here. Let me show you that again. We highlight it by left-clicking on it. Then we right-click, and we have delete zone. So we deleted that zone. Now we can move on to the next page because the rest of those zones are very well done. You hit Control E and it says, do you want to save your stuff? And you say yes. And then, do you want to recognize the page? I say no. Now we go to Control E once again. What we're trying to do is turn the page. We turn Zone Editor back on. We don't need to know what the name of the chapter is and the page number every time we go. So we can delete number 1 right away. Okay, then we go to zone 6, and here we see that those questions that we had over there went up to 5, and now here's 6, 7, 8, and 9. They should be the first zone. So we're going to take this zone 6 here and turn it into zone 1 so that those questions can continue from 5 to 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we right click it, left click it again, that highlights it. Then we bring up this little board and go to properties. And in properties we take this 6 and turn it into a 1 and then hit enter. And now this zone will be number 1. Okay. So then we go to zone 2. This should be zone 2 now, here. We go to zone 3, it should be. It says zone 4. So there must be a problem in this chart here. Here's zone 3 over here. Well, it should be up here. So we're going to highlight this zone by left-clicking it and going back to properties and turning that 4 into 3. And then this 4 is okay, and 5 is okay, except that 17 ought to be deleted. We don't need to hear about those 3 dots. And now this is 17. Well, somehow they cut this thing in half, and I don't know why we would do that. So we delete that. Now we go back to zone 5 again, and this time we hit the adjust zone and continue this out here. So now it's all one zone. Zone 5, zone 6, that's good. Zone 7, following these arrows here, coming down here to zone 7, this should be. So we go back here to properties. Make that a 7. Delete that. Go back to Control E now to turn the page. Yes, I want to save these things. No, I don't want numbers. Control E. You have to hit it twice to do that. And then Control F5 will get you back to the zone editor. This first zone is correct. It's zone 1. That's good, except that it's a little big. We don't need the chapter number or the title of the chapter anymore. We fix that zone, and then we go to zone 2, which looks good, and we go on down. And zone 3 here looks like it's a continuation of a word of a sentence. So the findings in quality. So the next page ought to have the rest of that word and the rest of the sentence. So we'll move on. Control E. Yes, we saved. No, we don't want to. Page number, Control E, edit. We're on page 19, the last page. Move existing page. Move page 8 up to here. So we're going to put page 8 here. And it is now going to come up here to between 17 and 18. This article is moved between pages 17 and 19 and then continues on page 8. So it is now on page 18, okay? So at least we can get through the whole chapter without having these interruptions. So now we'll go back to page 8. This is the rest of that article. This article begins on page 18 and finishes on page 8, as you can see. But now we go back to page 7 and we look here again at the bottom of the page where it says, for example, and now we go to page 8 beginning, but it starts right here, the range of an array of scores. And I don't know that you can see that again. Let's move this over. The range of an array of scores from the highest at 45. So for example, the range of an array of scores from the highest, that is where it goes. Just to double check the zoning, it goes to 1, the range of an array of scores. We've already zoned this. Now we're going to this new sentence here, as an, that's all it's on there. As an example. You see there, right there? As an example. We'll put that in the middle of the page. We're going to zoom it down a little bit, 300, so we can all see what we're doing here. As an example. Now we hit Control 5. Start right at that point as an example, so we delete that chapter title and page number. Now we're on Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4. These all look good. And I'm going to stop there with this part and move on to the next screen. I had a different name for this. Instead of underlining word, express, say word express, because it's like an express train that doesn't stop at every stop but goes straight through to the destination. Well, that's what this underlying word does. You could call it an express train. You see here,
present and functional early in development studies of non-human primates show that some of these same components are shared with closely and distantly related animal species. In studies employing cellular recordings and functional neuroimaging these psychological mechanisms with their neural substrates, for example, Brass, Schmidt, Spindler.
I got as far as this right here, and I didn't get these out of here yet. So we're going to go get rid of them now. Edit underlying word. So correct recognition down to edit underlying word. And there we are. Now you have a screen down here on the bottom. Delete the next one. The next one. Next one. Next one. Be sure and get the ampersand there. This. That, this. Otherwise we have to hear all these names and dates. Now put that period back at the end of the sentence so it'll sound like a sentence when you get to the period back at the end. We're erasing all these. Actually, they are going to be gone now. I'm going to go ahead and stop. Now it'll ask you if you want to save these things. I'll say yes a little bit here.
In everyday action, human behavior tends to flow continuously, with few pauses to mark meaningful boundaries between distinct movements. Nevertheless, human behavior is hierarchically organized, consisting of distinct hierarchically organized actions. Our perception of others' behavior seems to mirror this fact. We perceive hierarchically organized actions rather than a continuous stream of movement. For example, if
actions ought to have had a period, it went right into our perception. Then you have your, after you after you get all these green ones highlighted, all of your citations, you go back and highlight what they contributed to the article, which is great. And then the thing is, you have two other highlights that you can use, and I use those like this. I say the blue highlighter is for the subject that you are highlighting, and then the red is the content of that subject. So you can use those two highlighters for that reason. Most of your highlighter tutors will tell you that I highlight much too much stuff here, and that you try to highlight as little as possible, and that's fine if that's the way you want to go. That concludes the information I wanted to show you today. We do have bookmarks.
Abstract focuses on one specific position-based encoding computations.
You can go to specific areas where you want to go to. That'll do it for today, and thank you all very much for watching.